The Dark Knight wasn't just a superhero movie, it was chaos theory wrapped in a cape, morality dressed as mayhem, and performances that blurred the line between acting and obsession. This wasn't just Batman punching criminals, it was psychological warfare painted across Gotham's skyline, where every frame hid secrets most audiences never noticed. A Spider-Man poster buried in a bank vault, Ledger's isolated madness becoming legend, and visual symmetry that whispered duality before Two-Face ever appeared. These are 20 hidden details you completely missed in The Dark Knight. Number 20. The bank heist that opens the film isn't just about clowns and chaos. If you watch the background carefully during the initial Gotham cityscape shots inside the vault, a Spider-Man 3 poster hangs on the wall. It's small, almost invisible unless you're hunting for it, placed there by the set decoration team during location shooting in Chicago. The poster wasn't a deliberate Easter egg so much as a relic of the era, a reminder that The Dark Knight existed in a moment when superhero films were exploding across studios, but its presence subtly anchors Christopher Nolan's vision in the broader genre conversation happening in 2008. The detail suggests Gotham exists in our world, not some isolated comic book universe. A bonus Easter egg for viewers with sharp eyes. Number 19. During the opening bank robbery, one criminal mentions a 5-way split before immediately correcting himself to 6. That stumble isn't random or accidental dialogue. It's the Joker planting misinformation early, controlling the narrative even among his disposable pawns. He tells different people different things, ensuring nobody holds the full picture. The chaos isn't spontaneous, it's engineered from the first line of the first scene. Christopher Nolan and his brother Jonathan Nolan built the Joker's methodology into every interaction. He doesn't just create disorder, he weaponizes confusion, feeding contradictory details to maintain total control while appearing reckless. The Joker is already manipulating his own crew without them realizing it, establishing his mastery before audiences even understand they're watching calculated anarchy. Number 18. Composer Hans Zimmer didn't give the Joker a traditional villain motif. There's no recurring melody, no hummable tune that announces his presence. Instead, Zimmer created an atonal, dissonant soundscape that feels wrong on a visceral level. The Joker's audio signature is a rising tension, a scraping discord that refuses resolution. It mirrors his philosophy perfectly, rejecting structure and predictability in favor of unease. Zimmer reportedly used a single sustained cello note played so intensely that the string began to fray and distort, producing an unstable sound that became the foundation of the Joker's presence. The soundtrack itself reinforces his unpredictability before he even speaks a word. Sound design becomes character, a sonic manifestation of philosophical chaos that audiences feel subconsciously throughout every scene. Number 17. Unlike the rigid suit in Batman Begins, the upgraded cowl in The Dark Knight allows Bruce Wayne to turn his head. That sounds minor, but it fundamentally changes how Batman moves through fight scenes. He can track enemies without rotating his entire torso, making combat feel tactical rather than awkward. The design choice came from Christian Bale's feedback after the first film, where limited mobility made certain choreography difficult. The costume department rebuilt the cowl with segmented neck plates, allowing natural head movement without sacrificing the armored silhouette. Watch any fight sequence closely, and Batman's glances are quick, reactive, believable. He reads the battlefield like a soldier, not a statue. This upgrade transforms Batman from a stiff statue into a fluid predator. Number 16. The painted clown mask the Joker wears during the bank heist visually echoes Cesar Romero's classic television Joker from the 1960s. The exaggerated grin, the bright primary colors, the theatrical absurdity, all of it references a campier era of Batman storytelling. But Nolan twisted that nostalgia into something menacing, using the mask to contrast Heath Ledger's gritty realism. Once the mask comes off, the smudged, lived-in makeup underneath feels even more unhinged by comparison. The production design team included the reference deliberately, acknowledging comic history while distancing this Joker from anything that came before. It's a visual bridge between Batman's past and his terrifying present. The shift from cartoonish mask to grimy reality mirrors the tonal evolution of superhero cinema itself. A blink and you miss it comic history wink embedded in chaos. Number 15. When Commissioner Gordon displays a security still of the Joker, the digital timestamp on the image reads July 18th, 2008. That's the exact US theatrical release date of The Dark Knight. The props department embedded the meta detail intentionally, tying the fictional investigation to the real-world moment audiences would first encounter the film. It's a quiet fourth wall acknowledgement, a production signature hidden in plain sight that only reveals itself on freeze-frame analysis. The timestamp doesn't affect the story or change the meaning of the scene, but it connects Gotham's timeline to our own, a meta detail that quietly ties fiction to reality while rewarding obsessive viewers hunting for hidden layers. The date becomes a timestamp for both Gotham's nightmare and cinema history. symmetry. Number 14. Before Bruce upgrades his suit, attacked dogs ambush him in a parking garage. The choreography for that sequence wasn't designed around typical stunt work. Fight coordinator Tom Struthers studied real dog attack patterns, how canines lunge, bite, and track moving targets. Christian Bale's defensive movements mirror genuine evasion tactics used in police canine training. He doesn't Hollywood punch the dogs, he slips into shadows, redirects momentum, and uses the environment to create distance. The way he dodges and slips into shadows is choreographed around real canine movement, not cheap stunt work. Look at the timing of his dodge, and it's almost instinctual, like a real fight. The result feels genuine rather than choreographed, grounding Batman's survival skills in recognizable physical reality rather than superhero fantasy. Number 13. The calling cards the Joker leaves at crime scenes aren't just symbols of chaos, they're direct callbacks to decades of comic book storytelling, where the Joker used playing cards as clues, puzzles, and psychological warfare tools. In The Killing Joke and other landmark stories, the card represents randomness, fate, and the Joker's belief that life is a game without rules. The Joker leaves playing cards as a symbol of chaos, but it's also a comic reference to classic Joker comics where the card is the clue in puzzles. It's subtle enough to blend into the story, but fans of the comics spot the callback immediately, while casual viewers accept it as menacing atmosphere. Each card left behind becomes both a signature and a philosophical statement. Number 12. Before Harvey becomes Two-Face, the film constantly frames him alongside paired objects, split lighting, and symmetrical composition. Conversations happen with half his face in shadow. The camera lingers on reflections dividing his image. Characters often refer to Dent in paired phrases, or the camera shows two objects when his name comes up, reinforcing his duality long before he becomes Two-Face. Cinematographer Wally Pfister designed those visual cues deliberately, embedding the Two-Face transformation into the film's DNA before the acid burn. Aaron Eckhart wasn't told about every symbolic composition during filming. Pfister simply framed him in ways that would pay off narratively later. Visual storytelling that foreshadows his fate. The visual foreshadowing operates so subtly that it becomes inevitable rather than predictable. Number 11. The explosive devices planted on the fairies release a greenish chemical signature when triggered. That color and spread pattern deliberately reference Joker venom from the comics. The signature toxin the character uses to kill victims while leaving them with grotesque smiles. The gas Joker uses on the fairies visually resembles Joker venom used in many comics, a subtle continuity nod to the source material. Nolan's version reimagines the weapon as explosive rather than biological, grounding it in terrorism instead of fantasy. But the visual DNA remains. Its color and spread pattern reference comic toxin panels but reimagined for live action. The production design team studied comic panels showing Joker gas spreading through confined spaces, translating that imagery into live action cinematography. The green haze becomes a visual callback wrapped inside a narrative innovation. Number 10. Christopher Nolan structured The Dark Knight around visual and thematic opposition. Two boats facing an impossible choice. Two hostages representing conflicting moralities. Two versions of justice embodied by Batman and Harvey Dent. Nolan frames scenes with symmetry or opposing halves. Two boats, two hostages, two sides of Gotham's moral equation. The camera constantly frames scenes in symmetrical halves, splitting compositions down the middle to reinforce the philosophical battle between order and chaos. Wally Pfister said Nolan requested that framing repeatedly during pre-production, explaining that the film's core conflict wasn't just Batman versus Joker, it was competing philosophies colliding in every scene. It's subtle visual signaling about the thematic battle between order and chaos that operates beneath every frame. Every split screen becomes a moral argument told through composition. Number 9. Instead of polished prosthetics or digitally perfected clown paint, makeup artist John Callion Jr. crafted a look that feels smudged, cracked, and imperfect. The white makeup bleeds unevenly across Heath Ledger's skin. The red smile extends too far in some places, fades in others. Black eyeshadow runs like old mascara worn too long. Instead of polished prosthetics, Nolan went for smudged, lived-in makeup that looks like half-erased war paint. It gives Joker an unstable, gritty presence beneath his grin. Ledger reportedly applied the makeup himself on certain shooting days, deliberately introducing mistakes and asymmetry. That texture makes his face feel right out of the gutter, a visual cue that this man exists outside social norms entirely. The imperfection becomes more disturbing than any polished monster makeup could achieve. Number 8. The eerie broadcast clips where the Joker addresses Gotham weren't entirely Christopher Nolan's vision. Heath Ledger took creative control of those sequences, shaping the framing, delivery, and unsettling atmosphere of each message. The Joker's broadcast messages and hostage videos were created to feel amateurish and messy, matching his personality and the feel of his brand of chaos in Gotham. Nolan reportedly gave Ledger freedom to direct himself during those shoots, trusting the actor's instincts about how chaos should present itself to the public. This wasn't slick studio footage. It's meant to look like real terror media, something homemade and unstable. That directorial choice made the broadcasts feel like genuine threats rather than Hollywood villainy. The amateur quality makes the threats feel disturbingly authentic rather than cinematic. Number 7. When the tumbler explodes and ejects the Batpod motorcycle, audiences assume they're watching CGI magic. They're not. The special effects team built a functional transformation mechanism that actually worked on set. When the tumbler transitions to the Batpod, it's not CGI. Practical transformation makes the scene feel tangible and real, anchoring the lunatic escape. 6 real Batpod vehicles were constructed, each capable of high-speed maneuvering. Stunt rider Jean-Pierre Goy trained for months to master the unconventional riding position and steering dynamics. The sequence was filmed using real vehicles, real explosions, and real stunt work with minimal digital enhancement. Visual weight you can almost touch. The commitment to practical effects gives the sequence a visceral impact that pure CGI couldn't match. Number 6. The sequence where the Joker destroys Gotham General Hospital isn't just spectacular pyrotechnics. The editing rhythm builds visual symmetry and then violently disrupts it. Before the explosion, the camera establishes clean lines, balanced compositions, and orderly framing. The way the building blows and the camera cuts is designed to mirror dice rolls, balanced unpredictability, and pattern in the editing. Then the blast shatters that structure completely, fragmenting the image into chaos. Editor Lee Smith deliberately designed the cut pattern to mirror the Joker's worldview. That order is an illusion waiting to be exposed. It keeps viewers on edge without knowing why. Watch the angles before and after the explosion and symmetry falls apart. The rhythm itself becomes a visual argument about the fragility of civilization. Number 5. When Batman activates the citywide Sonar surveillance system, the visual effect resembles radar vision depicted in decades of comic book art. The rippling white lines spreading across black backgrounds, the ghostly outlines of architecture and people, the God's eye perspective of Gotham mapped in negative space. All of it translates comic book visuals into live-action cinematography. When Batman uses Sonar, the visual ripple effect echoes certain comic vistas of radar vision, almost a visual tribute to panels executed in motion. Visual effects supervisor Nick Davis studied how artists like Neil Adams and Jim Lee depicted Batman's technological advantages on the page. It's a live-action interpretation of comic concept that honors source material while pushing cinematic boundaries. The sequence bridges the gap between illustrated panels and photorealistic film. Number 4. Costume designer Lindy Hemming didn't dress the Joker in pristine tailoring. Every crease, thread pull, and stain was added intentionally to suggest a life lived without care for appearance or hygiene. The purple coat looks slept in. The green vest shows sweat marks. The hexagonal shirt patterns clash deliberately, creating visual discomfort. Hemming said the costume needed to feel scavenged, as if the Joker assembled his look from thrift stores and dumpsters without concern for matching or maintenance. A costume choice that speaks his mental state without words. Watch any scene where he moves, and the fabric bunches unnaturally, refusing to sit right on his frame. That visual unease operates subconsciously, making audiences distrust him before he even speaks. The worn details transform costume into character psychology. Number 3. The sequence where the Joker destroys Gotham General Hospital demonstrates visual philosophy through editing. Before the explosion, the camera establishes clean lines, balanced compositions, and orderly framing. The camera sequence builds and then violently disrupts the frame. Visual chaos matching Joker's worldview. That order is an illusion. Then the blast shatters that structure completely, fragmenting the image into chaos. The symmetry collapses frame by frame, and the camera angles shift from stable to handheld, controlled to chaotic. Watch the angles before and after the explosion, and symmetry falls apart. The editing itself becomes a philosophical statement about the fragility of civilization that most superhero films avoid entirely. Christopher Nolan uses the rhythm of destruction to communicate ideology without a single word of dialogue. Number 2. During the brutal interrogation scene, the Joker makes deliberate hand movements that echo coin flips. He flicks his fingers, suggests binary choices, and physically gestures in ways that mirror Harvey Dent's signature two-headed coin. When Joker dangles the coin at Batman during the interrogation, it's not random. The flicker between smiles and seriousness builds tension that echoes Dent's flip coin later. The performance detail wasn't accidental. Heath Ledger studied how the Joker might subconsciously reference Gotham's White Knight even while tormenting Batman. Small body language tie-ins link characters. Those small physical cues connect the two characters before their philosophical collision, suggesting the Joker already understands Dent's duality better than Harvey himself. The gesture becomes foreshadowing hidden in performance. Number 1. When Commissioner Gordon shatters the bat signal at the film's end, he's not just hiding Batman's identity. He's removing Gotham's comfort object, forcing the city to remember that fear is a weapon, not a guarantee of safety. Christopher Nolan wanted that powerful final image to communicate Batman's difficult evolution from symbol of hope to necessary darkness. The destruction strips away reassurance, leaving only uncertainty and the understanding that true justice sometimes requires sacrifice without public recognition. Without the signal, Gotham loses its visual anchor, the beacon that promised protection would always arrive when needed most. Now the city must confront the darkness Batman actually represents rather than the hero they desperately wanted him to be. Low-key visual storytelling about identity, myth, and the true cost of heroism. The Dark Knight didn't just deliver chaos and capes, it embedded meaning in shadows, constructed philosophy through framing, and hid secrets in every performance choice and production detail. From Spider-Man posters to Sonar vision, from Ledger's isolated directorial control to costume stains communicating psychology, the film operates on layers most viewers never consciously register. It's a masterclass in hiding meaning in shadows, shots, props, and performance. Which hidden detail surprised you most, and what film should we open next?